In the years that King Uzziah died, I saw the Lord sitting on a throne, high and lifted up, and the train of his robe filled the temple. Above it stood seraphim, each one had 6 wings. With 2 he covered his face, with 2 he covered his feet, and with 2 he flew. And one cried to another and said, Holy, holy, holy is the Lord of hosts. The whole earth is full of his glory. And the posts of the door were shaken by the voice of him who cried out, and the house was filled with smoke. So I said, Woe is me, for I am undone, because I am a man of unclean lips, and I dwell in the midst of a people of unclean lips, for my eyes have seen the King, the Lord of hosts.
According to this reading from Isaiah 6, why Prophet Isaiah felt that he's done? Why Isaiah is written? Why Isaiah 6 said, Woe to me, I'm done. For what? For verse 6. For my eyes have seen what? The King, the Lord of hosts. Why Prophet Isaiah? This is a revelation. The revelation of the Lord to Isaiah. Have seen him really. Have seen by his eyes. The trail of his robe filling the whole temple. And the seraphim are chanting, Holy, holy, holy. And the awesome holiness from the praise and chanting filled the temple with smoke, and the posts of the doors trembled and shaken. So imagine yourself in the presence of the Lord and the awesome holiness filling everything around you. You will feel relatively that you are so defiled. Although Isaiah is regarded as the 5th evangelist, Isaiah is regarded as the 5th evangelist, and his mouth is not defiled, but relatively compared to the holiness which he have seen, he felt nothing. The same happened to St. John, the beloved, in the book of Revelation chapter 1. When God revealed himself not in full glory, because we can't witness in the body the full glory of the Lord. He fell down like a dead. And the Lord helped him to stand up. So being in the presence of the awesome holiness, we tremble, we shake. And the more we come closer to God, the more we discover our weaknesses, the more we discover our inadequacies. The more I am away from God, the more I feel I'm so good. Nothing is wrong with me. The more you get closer to the light, the more you discover that your robe has spots. If you are living in the dark, your robe might show as a clean one. Getting close to the awesome holiness, we feel that we are defiled. And we discover our weaknesses. So for those who feel that nothing is wrong with me, actually I'm so good, they need to get closer by reading a chapter like this. And you could continue to verse 10 if you want to read. And I think in Hebrew 12, I think verse 13 or 14 is talking about the holiness without which no one could see God. So without holiness, I cannot see God. Which means I cannot see Him by my spiritual eyes, or God, His revelation to me is blocked by my unholiness. Seeing God is blocked mainly by 4, I could call sins, behaviors. One of them is unholiness. The other is pride. The third is disobedience. And number 4 is hate. Hate. If you hate and can't forgive, if you are unholy, if you are disobedient, if you are proud of yourself, which means humility, obedience, love, and holiness will allow you to see the Lord and enjoy being with the Lord. So unholiness, like a curtain between us and the Lord, like a wall erected between us and the Lord. We can't enjoy His presence. It is very hard to define holiness and unholiness, because holiness is a quality of God, and God, nobody could define Him. So you can't define exactly what is holiness. But we could say God is so holy. What is holiness? Or sanctification? It's a quality. Like, what is the glory of God? His glory. What is the glory of God? Get into His glory. He will bestow His glory on us. He will take us into His glory, to see and witness His glory, to live in His... But what is the glory of God? It could be all the godly qualities. It could be... How could we define all qualities of God? So, we cannot exactly pinpoint and define quality of God, because God is uncomprehendable. Some will say, okay, but I could define unholiness. Okay, try. Because sometimes we know something by its opposite. I find also so many meanings. There's no one meaning for unholiness. Something, if you will do it, you will feel that you cannot be in the presence of God doing that. It could be unholy. If I eat so much, then this is unholiness. Any extremes, any obsessions, any compulsive behavior, all these are not in moderation. It is within the unholiness. Not only sex. No. So, anything which you cannot do comfortably in His presence is unholy. And by the way, are we present always with Him? Is His presence surround us? Are we in His presence always as our faith? Yes. He's in us and around us. We are in His presence. So why we do many things which are unholy? Give me the answer as comes to your mind. Why we do so many things unholy, although we are in His presence? Because we don't see Him. Because what? Because we don't see Him. But if we will see Him really, we'll shake and tremble. So, I'm not going to do this unholy behavior because I fear Him, but because I respect and reverence His presence, His awesome holiness. Those who are living in the awesomeness of God, they think 10 times before doing something unholy. But because you are human, all of us are human, sometimes we got blinded spiritually. And then we go into unholiness. But if this spiritual blindness continue, we could continue in the unholiness not knowing that we are committing unholy behaviors. Because we are spiritually blind. But anybody who sees the Lord, or witness His presence, or feel His presence, his spiritual eyes are opened. He will think so many times before approaching. Actually, he will hate doing anything unholy. Not he will not like it, he will hate it. Exactly like someone smells the aroma of Christ and let him go and smell rotten things. You say, smell a perfume and go and smell rottenness. You know the difference. Living with God, you live in His aroma. Call it the aroma of Christ. It's easy for you to spot unholiness. But if you are not living with Him, enjoying His aroma, for every smell, every odor for you will be good. And it's important for young men and women who are going to choose partners. You have to experience the aroma of Christ. And you have to smell His aroma in partners or spouses to be. But if you are not trained to smell the aroma of Christ, you will not know whether that person smells nice or not, irrespective of what perfume he's wearing or she's wearing. Smelling the aroma of Christ, it needs spiritually, you are trained every day to be with Christ. And also it's part of our parenting, to train our children. As long as we are in His presence, He will pour on us from His aroma, spikenard. We'll smell His smell. People will smell in us His aroma. Maybe we don't ourselves know that, but people will smell the aroma of Christ in us. We could smell His presence around us, smell His aroma. We could see Him and others in His creation enjoy being with Him in His creation, with their nature, or human beings. And of course, maybe some of you, God will give them a revelation. He could reveal Himself to them, whether clearly in dreams or visions. And if one time you will see Him in such a situation, you will never forget. You will never forget that. And this could be the key point of your life. If you see the God, the Lord revealing Himself to you, whether in a dream or in a vision. We don't imagine God, but we visualize God. Because God is a reality. God is not fiction to be imagined. You understand the difference between visualization and imagination? So, to get into holiness, we have what to do. 1, 2, 3, 4. Some of you ask, what to do? Enjoying His love. When we are young, they tell you, Baba Jesus loves you. Who's Baba Jesus? We can see Him. Here's His icon. Something in our mind, this is Baba Jesus. And this is Mama Dadra, Mama Virgin Mary. We see that when we are young. And some still call the Lord Jesus Christ Baba Jesus, because they like to be children of His. And God will give them the simplicity of the heart and the purity of children. And we, as we are growing, gradually, we like to read His Word, to enjoy His presence in meditation and prayer. And we feel without His presence, we can't live, we can't go. And without His presence, we feel so lonely. Why monks and nuns living as hermits alone by themselves don't feel lonely? Although they are living in a cave. And they could live 20 years as Saint Anthony not seeing any human being. And when he came down the mountain, his face was glowing. It's sufficient for us, Father, to look to your face. Because his face was glowing. Moses, his face was glowing when he comes out to meet him with God. So, when you are in solitude with God, when you are in meditation, contemplation with God, when you are having your time with God, not only you feel comforted, He could pour on you His wholeness and His love. And you find yourself behaving according to what He gave you, without you feeling. You feel that you love everybody around you. And you can't smell rotten behaviors. You don't want to do it. If you are on a computer, you don't want. If you have anything, you can. Somebody's inviting you, no, I don't want. Something inside me is telling me, no, I can't. Why? Because I have enjoyed, I'm satisfied with God. And we train our children to smell nice. To smell nice. In that program, you'll see in that booklet and CD, Abuna, the priest, is responsible to smell the wine, to see whether it's good, ready to pray on it in the liturgy or not. He has to smell. And he has to hold the urbana and look in it. Any blemish in it or not. That's why you choose between 3, 5, or 7 to choose the best one. He's doing that with the bride and the groom to be. That's why we have to prepare them to be in the nicest form, ready for that mystery. So, the aroma of Christ could be smelled through our behavior and our manners and our principles. And He's the one who's giving that. The longer I stay with Him, praising, praying, or thinking of Him, or meditating, or living with Him, the more it shows without me noticing. And the more God will reveal to me that everybody around me are diamonds, or more than diamond, temples of God, and God is in them. Okay, another revelation. We know, don't you know that you are the temple of God and the Holy Spirit dwells in you? Don't you know that the temple of the Holy Spirit who is in you is from God? Which means you are the holy, you are the temple of God. What that means? We know it by faith. But practically speaking, do I look to my body really as a temple of God? And every part of me is a member of Christ? Or not? And if in Sunday school they taught us this, that you are the temple of God. Every part of you is the member of Christ. The hand of Christ, mouth of Christ, eye of Christ, ear of Christ. Use it wisely. Unless this become not only a doctrine in my life, something I could apply day after day since I was young. I'm not going to dress moderately. I'm not going to behave moderately in an acceptable way or holy way. I will not know. So it's hard to judge and condemn teenagers because the way they dress, or the way they behave, or the way they make themselves appealing. And I did not teach them, I did not train them. I am the parent responsible to train my own children when they are young, when they are young, to smell the aroma of Christ. And then let them after that. They will not want to smell putrid, rotten aromas. They are not going, or they don't want to smell the aroma of death, but the aroma of Christ, of life. 2 Corinthians chapter 2. He will not like that. So if somebody is behaving in an unholy way, whether in the way they dress, the way they move, the way they offend others, the way they are piercing themselves, tattooing themselves, revealing themselves, whatever, I don't go and condemn them. I think first, who taught them? Who trained them? I mean, they are, maybe we not spend good time. Maybe we spoil them. Maybe we not tell them exactly that every part revealed in their bodies, they are revealing the temple of God. Maybe we not explain to them right the Mount of Horeb, Mount of Moses. When God was on top of the mountain, and nobody was allowed to come and touch the mountain. Why? Because God was dwelling on top, showing His presence to Moses. And anybody who touches the mountain, what will happen to him? What will happen to him? He dies. Do we allow anybody to touch the altar? Deacons, are you allowed to touch the altar? When the Lord is on top, could you ever touch? Abuna only, but you are not allowed to touch the altar by any means. Why? Because the Lord is dwelling now. He's there. How about the Lord who is in us? So the same, we teach the children when they are young these facts. Once, twice, 3 times, then they know that their bodies are not their bodies, are so holy. Why? For the presence of God who is sanctifying His members. How could I take the members of Christ and make it adulterous? 1 Corinthians 6. How could I do that? Don't you know that? You're bought for a price. 1 Corinthians 6:19. So we know, and we tell our children when they were young, and when they grow up, these principles are in them. But I try with my children when they are teenagers. Of course, modeling is good. Mom and dad is showing the children. And if the children tends to do something unholy in their behavior or in the way they dress, God is telling me as a parent, don't be like David, don't be like Eli. Because the fate is known. Eli the high priest. It's so serious. If I am in the presence of the Lord and I'm witnessing Him, I have to tell, not in harshness, but in awesomeness, how awesome is the temple of God. How awesome is your bodies. The temple of God. And you will assimilate it gradually from me. But rebuking only without training or teaching or instructing is not going to benefit. They will rebel. So, holiness is present in our homes. And believe me, if mom and dad are living in holiness without even instructing, kids see. And if I'm spending good time with them, showing them how good and holy they are, He will take care of their bodies and the way they dress and the way they behave. And there are certain chapters we tell them to read, or we read it with them. From it, 1 Thessalonians chapter 4, from verse 3 to verse 8. 1 Corinthians 3, 16 and 17. 1 Corinthians 6, from verse 14 to 20 end. We read certain chapters with them. With us first and with them. We don't jump and read with them 1 Corinthians 6, 9 and 10. Those who are not going to inherit the kingdom of heaven. First teach before condemning. And even when you read Revelation 21, you'll find from 5 to 8, 5 to 7 before verse 8. 5 to 7, those who already reach heaven and God will tell them it's done. Everything's alright now. You're going to inherit everything. And then verse 8, those who are not going to inherit the kingdom. 8 groups. I don't teach 8 before I teach 5 to 7. Teach the positive things first. Or learn about the positive things first. How to be filled. Sometimes when you are praying, You feel that the Holy Spirit is hovering over everybody in the whole place. You feel it inside you. And sometimes when you are praying, you want just to keep silent. You don't want to say anything. This is the awesomeness of God. This is the awesomeness of God, which made Isaiah look and he can't say anything. He said, woe to me. He can say. And this is the ecstasy which some of you, when you are praying, you stop praying. And your senses are kept silent, open. Your eyes are looking in the nowhere. After seeing something or getting into something, it could be just a feeling, a perception, or a revelation. And you keep silent. And then, after that, you continue praying. It could be accompanied with tears, without any word coming out of your mouth. Because you have seen something. Or you felt you are in His presence. It could be during your praising. And all of a sudden you stop. It could be in the liturgy praying. And you are one of the congregation. All of a sudden you stop. And you are not there. You are in something so holy. And then you return to continue. Whether you are with the Akbir, or your personal prayer, or in the liturgy, God could give you that. These are moments of witnessing the awesomeness of the holiness of God. And I have to start with the holiness, which is positive. And actually, I don't like to speak about unholiness. Because if we are living in the holiness, God will keep us away from the unholiness. Unfortunately, Satan, as I told you, these days, all over the whole world, if you ask all Christian churches, it happened in Los Angeles, bishops of all kinds of churches, they met. And they asked, what is the diabolic war number one for our churches, our congregation? They said, unholiness. Why? Why unholiness? Abuna, would you please read verse 27, the last verse in chapter 21 Revelation, the chapter before the last. The last verse, chapter 21, book of Revelation.
But there shall by no means enter it anything that defiles or causes an abomination or a lie, but only those who are written in the Lamb's book of life.
You think Satan is stupid not to read that? He's aware of it. And not the 8 groups in verse 8. It's so concise now. Not verse 8, chapter 21. No, verse 27, he summarized it all. Anyone who is defiled, unholy, and who's lying. Did you see that? The connection? Always unholiness is associated with lying. Because you want to live in hiding and lie. And who is the father of liars? Satan. And who is the one who loves to be unholy? Satan. Why? Because nobody will enter unless he's holy and honest, saying the truth. But if you lie, and you live in hiding because you live in unholiness, then Satan is your Lord. So, according to the heads of the churches these days, unholiness is war number one against congregations and against everybody in the church. Everybody, I mean everybody in the church of God. Nobody's immune. Nobody's immune. But through His grace and through His protection and through His holiness, we could escape this fight. Why? Because the new nature is victorious. He could attack us, but we could escape unless we yield to his pressure and wants to go and be with him. I'm talking about Satan. Every time, and God is a witness, every time I intend to speak about that issue, Satan will try to do something. One time, I was talking about the power of God, and Satan cannot do something in it regarding these issues. And there were 8 recorders recording. The 8 recorders stopped. Would you imagine? That's why I ask people to pray. Because we are kept in His grace. Yes. But we have to ask His presence. Please protect us. Especially when we go into this war of holiness and unholiness. This issue in particular. Ask any priest about those who are confessing these days. Teenagers, over 90%. I'm talking about US and Canada. Maybe you are so holy here. Over 90% of males between age 12 and 18, they were exposed to pornography. I'm not saying they became addicts, but at least exposed. Now it's 50-50. 50% males, 50% females. And they ask the females, why? We know that you are not interested in pornography. But they became, because of curiosity, they are interested to know what interests young males. They want to know. See the trick of Satan? You like to see as a male, and I will let the female try to see what's interesting for you. I will get the two into trouble. So wicked. So wicked. But He is not stronger, He is the mighty. You know, there is no one who lives unholy, especially in this immorality, who will have a successful marital relationship, holy marital relationship. It's understood. That's why failure of marriages. Because you are not living holy in His presence. And I'm talking in particular about younger generation who start to go into the unholiness and they don't repent. But of course, if you repent, you could live holy. But if you continue preparing for your marriage, or during your marriage you live unholy, I assure you that your relationship with your spouse is going to be defeated by Satan. Because you prefer to live in the unholiness. It's a choice. Either the holiness or the unholiness. If the two spouses, they feel the presence of God around them, they will behave with awesome respect to His presence in all their behaviors. It is aching to my heart as a counselor when they asked me 3 years ago in Alexandria, Egypt. There was in Alexandria, Egypt. They were asking to speak in a convention about childhood, children and the computer, children and the internet. And I was shocked from the information which I got from the servants. That convention was for the Sunday school administrator, and some eminent Sunday schools and priests and their wives. Certain servants of preschoolers and kindergarten, they were talking about 3.5 and 4 years old children who are on the internet seeing and viewing unholy scenes and behaving accordingly with one another and with their own sisters and the dolls of their own sisters. See how young now Satan is attacking? Where are the parents of those 3.5 and 4? One servant, a female servant, were unable to tolerate listening to what the young boy 4 years old is saying, and she left the class. And the other servant told me what was happening. She was offended from what the young boy is saying. See how young now Satan is attacking? Not now. Before it was 17, 18, became 12, became 10, became 9, became 4. Now becoming 4 years old. And it's known what we were talking about as behaviors of teenager at age 16, 17, 18, 7 years less now. Same behavior of the generation, 9, 10, and 11. Why? Because of the flood of information, whether negative or positive, given to this generation. Thanks for the information technology people. And for the computer, the internet, which must be. We have to protect our younger generation from the negative effect of the internet. We have to. Or else we are having a flood of failure of marriages in this generation, later on in the future. Because unholiness sets you for failure. There is one, of course, I'm not going to end by any means what's written in the handout. Because all what I've said is not mentioned in the handout. But there's a saying for one who made himself a specialist in that area. His name is Patrick Carnes. Did you hear about that name? Patrick Carnes. Did you hear about him?
No.
No. Good for you. He is a specialist in dealing with cases of sex addiction and pornography. And he has his 14 pages questionnaire to know the level of involvement. And he has a saying here, written in your handout. He regards pornography, of course, there's no need for me to define pornography. All of you know the meaning of it, correct? Okay. He said pornography is like the foot, athlete's foot of the brain. You know athlete's foot? It's It's like a fleet foot of the brain, which never goes away. It asks you to scratch it, promising relief. But when you scratch it, it hurts more and never stop itching. He talks about pornography. You see the relevance of what I'm saying. It never stops itching. And I challenge any one of you, if you have seen one time pornography, that you have forgot it. I remember a lady from Bermuda, natives of Bermuda, which came to my office by chance. There's a Coptic Orthodox church there in Bermuda. And one of the natives of the island, with her husband, came. And she told me, when I was 18, my dad brought cable to our home. When I was flipping the channels, I have seen something at that time a bit unusual, unholy. I changed the channel. I returned it again. I have seen it twice. I am now 42. I have never seen anything after 18, but I can't forget the scene which I have seen when I was 18. You can't forget it. Especially if you are using it in your mind. Using it and using it and using it. It's like a seed, a small seed. An idea, a scene. A seed implanted in the brain, in the memory, in your subconscious. When you see it once, then you close your eyes and you rehearse it, you remind yourself with it. It becomes vivid again. And you act on it. You see it and act on it. You see it and act on it. That seed grows like a tree inside your brain. It fills your subconscious with unholiness. Only one time. And there's so many research done in psychology department, whether it could be forgotten or not. And all prove that you can forget about it unless God will touch you. Unless you ask and ask and ask for God, please delete it. I can, please delete it. As I mentioned to a group of you, it happened. One only came to tell me that God managed to deal with him. He was living for 10 years in extreme unholiness, bad relationships, and God deleted completely from his mind. But usually, everybody remembers. So, if we allow our children to be unprotected, their exposure to computer and the internet is unprotected. For sure, they're going to be exposed by mistake once or twice or more than that. If they click toy, T-O-I, they will go into something. Doll, they will go into. Like children, they will get them into pornography. Unless they are protected by certain software, we should protect that. So it's our job to protect our children from the unholiness. First, by them living in the holiness. It's number one, which is the first part which I've talked about. Then protect them from the unholiness. It is our duty to protect them from the unholiness when they are young. And when they will be exposed to unholiness, they will know this is unholiness. This is not me. This is not my God's plan for me. And unfortunately, like any addictive substance, unholiness usually lead to other kinds of addiction. The lady which told me, of the Bermuda Island, told me her husband started by pornography. And now he is an alcoholic. After 2 or 3 years, started drinking. He started on pornography when he was 12. Smoking, alcoholism. Smoking and alcoholism. Because the will could be weakened so much by unholiness. So Satan will break your will by unholiness. And then the door is open for all kinds of compulsive behaviors and self-control disorder after that. You are totally broken. But still, resurrection is there. You could rise from that if you want. It's so difficult. As I told you, or maybe I told in other groups, if I have a choice for myself or one of my children between heroin addiction and sex addiction, I would say no way. Heroin addiction is far better than sex addiction. Because heroin addiction is something chemical. You can deal with it. You can detox. But there's no detox for sex addiction. Did you hear about Ted Bundy? Did you hear about someone called Ted Bundy? Okay. He was a Catholic altar boy. He's a very good Sunday school kid, Catholic altar boy, attend Bible study, reads the Bible, and prays in his home, goes to the church every week. One day, when he was a teenager, he found the day of the trash, he found on top of the trash cans 2 videotapes of porn material, sexually explicit videotapes. And then it was showing by certain figures outside. See, he took them, the neighbor's trash can. This is so common, by the way. Please don't throw any of this material in your trash can, because you are destroying others without you knowing. If you have any of this material, destroy it, burn it. Easy, get a scissor and cut the tape, but don't put the videotape. Break the CD. Burn the magazine. But don't destroy the life of others by putting it in the trash can. So Ted Bundy started to see these scenes. What was the end of Ted Bundy? Serial rapist and serial killer. He was in California, but he was executed in Florida. And he asked James Dobson, I need that old man to come to me, because I trust him, the only one in the media who will present the reality of what happened to me. The night before his execution, they allowed James Dobson to go to him. And he had a talk with him, which is recorded, about what happened to his life because of pornography. He moved in sex addiction, the 4 phases of sex addiction. He moved from phase 1, 2, 3, and 4. What are those 4 levels? Just for information, for you to know, maybe you'll be in one of them. Level 1 of sex addiction is to see porn substance, porn material, either magazine or books or internet, certain websites, or videotape or whatever, and act on it, which means masturbate, using the material. This is level 1. Yes, this is level 1 sex addiction. So many are involved in that, without them knowing that this is sex addiction. He could see 1 or 2 times, and he's reusing what's in his mind, acting on it, which means masturbating. Level 2. He could go to certain places in which he could enjoy seeing strippers, massage salons, and others, exotic dancers, whatever which will let him enjoy seeing the substance. So in addition to level 1, this is level 2. Level 3, level 1 plus level 2, plus having a real person with emotional and sexual experience with him or with her. So prostitutes, level 2. They are not real ones, no emotional interaction. But if you have emotional interaction, plus sexuality, plus level 1 and level 2, then you are at level 3. What's level 4? Level 4 is the most serious. Level 4, everything done in it is illegal, against the law, punished by the law. If you are harassing someone, pedophilia, rape, vandalism, exposing yourself to others, all these are punished by the law, and this is level 4. So Ted Bundy moved from level 1 to level 4, and he was doing level 1, 2, 3, and 4. So by 4, he starts to rape and kill. Rape and kill. And he was what? An altar boy. A real Catholic altar boy, good one. And he said, tell everybody that pornography destroys. Not only marriages, destroys lives. And we're taking it so easy. And sometimes we say, I didn't hurt anybody. I didn't harm anybody by saying this substance. I'm saying this is much more serious than substance addiction, than narcotic addiction. Because how could I deal with that? How can I take it out of the mind? Is there any way, surgery even, to take it out of my subconscious? No. Is there a treatment for that? Yes. But the treatment is the opposite of unholiness, which is holiness. A program of holiness. A full program of holiness. That program is written in the handout, but it is in full with Abuna mark. Correct, Abuna? If anybody wants to look at it, it is Abuna mark. You could give it to him, and he could email it to anyone of you who wants. A program to heal and deal with sex addiction. What is given is a 12-step. Of course, you have to eliminate seeing the substance, but the main problem is not to be exposed to more substance, but is how to protect yourself from what is in your subconscious, or to not use it. And the program is directed towards that. Abuna gave me 10 minutes more. Kindly, he gave me 10 minutes more, so I have to finish. Because I was thinking to stop now. But you'll find lots of information here. But that program which I'm describing to you is centered about holiness, around holiness. Which means, of course you stop seeing. And I advise each one of you, if you have seen one time, please read Job chapter 31, verse 1 to 10. Plus all the references which I gave you in this presentation, please go to that book, chapter 31, verse 1 to 10. Sometimes we call it dial 311. Not 911, 311. A covenant I made to my eyes, not to look into aversion. Which means, don't look lustfully. And I have seen that in so many families, and if I break that covenant, you find verses 9 and 10, what will happen? My wife or my sister, or someone close to me, will grind to others, and others will fall on her. It happened to David, King David, in his own house. He did it, his son did it with his sister. I have seen in families, so many families, Satan attacks one member and spread his words to the others. You could be the source of entry of the unholiness to the others and the members of the family. A dad is doing that, the wife and the children are affected. The best is to repent fast and live in holiness. As any addiction, sex addiction, it has withdrawal effect if you stop it. So during the withdrawal phase, we saturate the person with holiness. Confession and communion is the best remedy. Regular confession and communion. And please, I beg priests not to prevent those who are on porn substance from getting communion. As if I am depriving someone who's diabetic from insulin. Communion is a remedy. Because they want to get out and they can't. They are patients. So I support their will. Of course we use 12 steps. But in my program, which I gave to Abuna, you will see you have to always wear a cross with the figure of Jesus Christ on it in order to feel it. You have to put in your pocket something similar but smaller, or in your purse, or in your drawer if you are in your office, or a small icon of Jesus crucified. This is what scares Satan. And then, if you are an Orthodox, you have to use unction of the sick, and you'll be anointed 7 days. A prayer, because this is for those who are sick mentally, spiritually, or physically. The holy water, la'an, for 1 month. Every time you shower, you take from it, and you increase the water. Plus communion, Bible, and certain prayers. One of it is something similar, so similar to renouncing Satan in the baptism. It's written also in the Abuna, how to tell Satan that you don't have power over me. Why? In the name of the Lord Jesus Christ, in the authority of His divinity or deity, and the power of His blood, which was shed for me on the cross, you don't have authority over my mind, my will, my feelings, my body, my spouse, my children, my belonging. O Lord Jesus Christ, please have full authority over my mind, my will, my feelings, my body, my spouse, my children, and my belonging. So easy. Psalm 50, you have to say it at least 10 times during a day. Each time you finish it, while you're holding a cross, you have a metania, you worship, you kneel, and kiss the cross, and put it in your head. This is the feeling that you're getting into. You want to surround yourself with the Lord Jesus Christ. You want to live in the holiness, away from any distraction. And Psalm 50 is the Psalm of repentance, of David, the prophet and king. With other prayers and set reading the Bible and with fasting, and the church could have for you 12-step program, or any church which is offering 12-step program, but it has to be not two genders, only either males or females. I mean, purity group, 12-step program for males, or purity group, 12-step for the females. And this will continue, a program of about 24 items, and you will find so many verses which could help you in reading the Bible. But how, this is the last issue which is important, how to engrave in your mind something which will prevent the leak of unholiness from the unconscious. Have an icon, a picture for Jesus crucified with the crown of thorns. And every day, for a month, every day, try to draw details of the picture. And throw away the paper. Details, how many thorns, the direction of the nose, the spot, the drop of blood, his eyes, his chin. Try to draw it, not nice, but exactly, in detail. Spend 15 to 20 minutes every night. For 30 days. What I'm doing, I am engraving that icon which scares Satan in my subconscious. Subconscious is like a room with a door. I will fix that icon on the door. If the door is going to be opened while I'm unconscious, sleeping or something, and any scorpion or bug will try to come out, it will find the crucified. It will get in. Try this. When you are driving, you think of this icon. You think of Jesus crucified. You see others through Jesus who is crucified. You have him around your neck. You have him in your pocket. You have him in your purse, around you. If you have to use computer, the icon of the Lord Jesus Christ will be showing. But please, you must stop by any means the surge of this unholiness through certain websites. There are certain softwares which are known, like Cyber Sitter, Cyber Patrol, Cyber Nanny, whatever. There's so many of them which you could get, which protect you from the unholiness, the filth, talk, the violence, and the porn substance. So first I talked about holiness, how to get into holiness, how to live with your children in holiness, how to have their body, the temple of God, and how to let them feel His presence. So when they are teenagers, they will protect that temple by the way they dress, by the way they deal with the past and members of Christ. And then protect them from the unholiness when they were young, so they will not feel the attraction to the unholiness. If you have computers, everybody have computers now, you have to protect them from the unholiness in the computer by putting the computer in certain area, clear area, set certain time only to be on computers, including computer games. I prefer just 1 hour a day. And if you do homeworks, it's in front of you. I mean, in a public area, not in a room closed. And any young man now, or young woman, could get around any software. But he has to know what he's doing for himself. It's written in your handout how the personality, every component of it, could be affected and damaged, including the physical part, the spiritual, the intellectual, the emotional, the social, the moral, and the sexual relationship. Everything could be damaged if you continue in the unholiness. It's written with you in detail. Any questions? Sorry, I was in a hurry just to finish. It's a very lengthy topic.
تفضلي.
We can't protect our children from computers or materials that we can be exposed to. However, how can we protect them from what we can hear from the outside, like through school, friends, who are totally unholy? They come from a different background, no church background, and everything to them is just normal.
Yes, I know that. That's why we don't allow our children to sleep over. If you think that that household is unholy, don't allow them to sleep over there. And you have the right, as a father or a mother, to explain to your children this is an unholy place. You take care. If they are kids, they can't. If they are grown up, they can. Nobody will force them for unholiness, especially they know that they are the temple of God and they are holy. But I don't prefer sleepover, because there's time to discuss and chat and learn so many things which is unholy. And yes, I could take care of my house, but I can't take care of others. Birthday parties, socialization. If it's a family which belongs to the church, I prefer adult supervision. In any group, in any birthday party, or any event, graduation, whatever, I prefer adult supervision, adult presence. And of course, we don't allow any unholy behavior to happen. Certain drinks or certain behaviors is not allowed. And adult must be there. Whether they are young, teenager, or graduate, adult must be there. In our prom, the prom celebration in the high schools, you'll find all the teachers, the principals are there in the prom, watching, and even policemen outside. Not everything is allowed. The same applies to our own children. We have to keep them holy and warn them from what could happen to them outside. And God bless them, help them. Yes, any other questions?
What about sex education in the schools?
Okay, I was expecting that question to come. Okay, sex education. Those who are responsible for sex education in Canada and the United States, the majority are atheists. So, you have the right as a parent to know the program beforehand. Take the program and teach it to your own children, because it's not mandatory to attend. Tell them, in our church, we're going to teach that. Take the program and present the information in a holy way, mentioning why God wants that to happen. They use sex education the way they want it. They encourage any sex behavior, any preference, sexual freedom. And it's proved, Christian media, they proved that the motives for sex educators. And you can say no, because approved by the Board of Education. The only way is to sign your child out. 5th grade, 7th grade, and 9th grade. Those three grades in our countries, they teach under family life, whatever name they are giving. But the first year, 5th grade, say, they teach in that course the bees and the flowers and the seeds, and end by animals and end by animals, and they have to teach exactly what is intercourse at the end of grade 5. Human intercourse. 7th grade, they teach pregnancy. What's happening in the embryo and the fetus. And process of delivery. 9th grade, they teach sexual transmitted diseases and how to protect yourself by using condoms. Not abstinence. You don't teach morality. So you could teach whatever you want, and either in the church or at your home. Get the material. Or get any book from Christian bookstore, how to talk with your child about sex. So I have my reservation about allowing our children to attend such 3 courses. And so many Christian parents did not allow the children to attend. You could go to the library if they want, on the basis that you will teach them. And you have the right to teach them. You have the information. If you don't know how to teach them, ask on the school to teach it. To come to your home to teach it. Any male doctor, any female doctor, you could come and teach. I know that if I take a questionnaire for you who are here, parents, say, of this church, how many of you would allow Sunday school to teach a holy program for sex education in the church, in the Sunday school? 50% at least will say no. We don't want. Why? Because I don't want my child to be exposed to anything. You know the ostrich? Yes. But, of course, 5th grade and 6th grade, I advise to teach adolescents by videotape that there are changes in the body, that changes in psycho-emotions. On videotape, you get it from any public library. In a godly way, males alone, females alone, girls separate than the boys, so they could ask whatever they want to ask. Because 5th and 6th grader girls are so different in the bodies and development than boys. And the boys are still not there. While girls are so mature. They have their hormones. And it's normal to see a girl running after a boy in the churchyard, and the boy doesn't know why, what she's doing. At that age. So better to keep the boys away from the girls at that age. And teach them what's happening in their bodies and how to take care of them. This is, you can do that, easy. Sex education, if the group of parents want that, it's easy to get it from the Board of Education and teach it in a holy, godly way. And still, boys different than girls. No need to teach them how to use condom. Why? We teach abstinence in the best way. Condom doesn't help. This is immoral because you are involved in fornication. But all the goal have to protect yourself from STDs. And even condom don't do that. It's not 100% protection. So our morality is different. And I know it is not the place now, but were you taught sex education in your homes? The majority are saying no, correct? Yes, please. The majority are saying no. I am telling you, all of you were taught sex education. How? The main sex education is by teaching morality. Not by giving information, biological information. Teaching morality, what will keep your children in holiness, not the biological information. So all of us were taught morality. I hope so in our homes. And we are teaching morality. So don't feel bad. We are taught how to keep ourselves. God bless you and thank you so much.